Jason.
Hi, Eric.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, what are we doing here today?
Well, we've received quite a bit of feedback from our riders that our tires can be difficult to install on certain wheel sets.
Yeah, they're a pain in the ass.
Yes, that's
Or at least I thought they were a pain in the ass at one point.
Well,
Do you remember when I was like texting you like, yeah.
Well, we take all feedback seriously, and we've taken this feedback from our riders and you.
Yeah.
And we've created the challenge method to installing handmade tubeless tires. And it can really be boiled down to 3 key steps in the process that will help you get your tire on your wheel easier.
That's good. So I will be honest, like it was extremely frustrating. I mean, tubeless and hookless are generally frustrating at first for people. And when I was doing some preliminary, product testing of some of your tires, it took an hour and a half, and I swear I broke my thumb trying to get it on. And I remember, do you remember like me texting you, like, what the hell? And then you sent me that video that you guys have, and I was so frustrated that I just decided that we were going to do our own video on our own YouTube channel so that we could actually teach people how to properly put your tires on wheels easier. So let's jump into the 3 steps to figure out what's the easiest way to put on a challenge tire.
Absolutely.
All right, let's jump into step 1, 2, and 3.
All right.
Step number 1.
Well, after you've inspected your rim, make sure your rim tape is in good condition and clean of any residue, and your valve is tight. We need to get the tire out of the box.
Okay. Is that my job?
That's your job.
Okay. So what tire are we putting on first?
So today we're putting on the Criterium RS 28 millimeter.
Okay. Now this is also hookless compatible, correct?
It is.
Now, one of the things that people probably realize first, if they've put a lot of tires on, is the fact that your tires, they're flat.
They're flat.
Okay. Now, the fact that the tires are flat is a pretty important part of step 1, correct?
Absolutely. As a result of the construction process of how we build a tire, they come out flat. Most tires that you see on the market have some shape to them, which makes it a little easier to throw that first bead on. So the first key step in installing a challenge handmade tire is going to be to center the tire completely over the rim.
Okay, so I'm going to start doing that because why not? So do I do it like this?
I mean, that's one way to do it. There's multiple ways to do it, but leverage is going to be key.
Okay.
The tire's still going to feel like it has a tight fit, as you see Eric is struggling here. So let me show you something.
Yeah, see, this is where I get frustrated.
All right. So basically what we want to do is I'm going to change things up a little bit. I prefer to put the label opposite the valve stem. Why, do you ask? Well, when my bike has its photos taken, the valve core is always at the bottom. That way the tire label is in the right orientation at the top and you can read it.
We like good photos.
So locate the label. We're going to center it over the top. And what you're going to want to do is kind of pull and stretch the tire down over the rim. You need to have leverage, so I like to even do this on the ground, which I know you can't see in the video here, but just a simple stretch like this.
That was quick. That was not edited, by the way.
The end result is you have one bead on one side of the rim and you have the other bead on the other side.
Okay, so step 1 is to put the tire on flat over both corners of the rim.
Correct.
Okay, now what's step 2?
Step 2 is going to be a little different than what you may be accustomed to. We're going to locate the valve stem and we're going to work our way starting opposite the valve.
Okay, so valve stem down.
Valve stem down.
On the counter, on the floor.
Wherever it needs to be so that you can get your thumbs working and get the tire into the rim. So then we're simply going to start putting one bead from one side into the rim. Now, a tubeless rim is designed with a channel right down the center that's a smaller circumference than the shelf where the tire sits at the end of the process. So we want to make sure that that bead is fully in the center of that channel. That's going to give you much more room to work around the wheel as you're putting the tire on. So we can start to put it on, working our way around. We're on the other side here. And as you can see, if you're in the center of the channel here, all the way around, you're going to have a lot more room to play with at the valve. And the reason we finish at the valve is that plug on the bottom of the valve inside the rim is taking up valuable real estate that we need to get this bead into the center channel. So on some wheels, you're going to be able to just throw this on with your fingers and not use a tire lever. In other cases, you might need to use a casual flick of the tire lever. We're almost there. So if you take your trusty tire lever and just one quick flick, we've got one bead already on. Halfway there. Eric, you want to try the second side?
Yeah, so I want to go, if I'm correct, I want to start with valve up or down?
Down.
Down.
We're starting opposite the valve.
So valve is always going to be down.
It's always going to be down. It's the last part of the tire you want to put on.
Okay, all right, so now I want to go in the middle.
And I'm going to stop you right here.
Okay, what did I do wrong?
You didn't do anything wrong, but it's something that I want to point out. Due to the flat construction of the tires, what's going to happen when you try to put that second bead in the rim is the tire's going to sink down into the rim. And what that does is pushes the beads up on that shelf, which defeats the purpose of the center channel that we just discussed. So that's going to make your life really difficult at the end, which you've probably already experienced. So what we really want to do is create some shape to the tire. So whenever you go to put this tire on, I like to pinch the tire and create a tire-like shape, because that's going to allow that second bead to fall into that center channel. And if you do this all the way around, as you work the bead in, you'll find at the end of the installation process, it's going to be much easier than if you just threw the bead in and hoped.
So really what you're doing is you are getting ahead of the massaging effort that typically you have to do with a wheel installation. And what I mean by massaging is you're constantly having to work that edge down, and you kind of get to the bottom and it gets stuck, and then you have to come back and kind of pull it and stretch it a little bit.
Right.
Okay.
And as you just do this as you go and work your way along, it takes maybe an extra minute, and you'll thank me later. So as you get towards the end, you can see that we're not that far off the rim. If you don't put it in the center channel and create this shape, the tire is going to be like down here. And you're going to be looking at me like, why does Challenge make their tires too small?
See, now the first time I did this, I was literally 45 minutes into this process.
Yeah.
And I think at one point I threw the wheel.
Possibly. I don't recommend that.
I definitely texted you, and you sent me the video
Yes.
that we're replacing today.
And I know what some of you are thinking right now. I've installed hundreds and thousands of tires in my 30 years of riding my bicycle. I'm not here to tell you that you're doing it wrong. I'm just here to show you a different method that's a benefit using handmade tires to allow you to get the tire on without the struggles and without, telling your friends that it took you 30 minutes to get the tire on, or 45 minutes, or worse than that, not even riding the tires because you couldn't get them installed.
Okay, so not to get too sidetracked, but what is the difference between a handmade and a traditional tire that would require this special 3-step process?
It's really the flat construction. We mentioned earlier the shape that a tire has. When you have a tire that comes out of a mold and it's been subjected to high heat vulcanization, it looks like a bicycle tire. It's shaped like a tire, and that round shape is easier to throw over the edge. With the flat shape, the way we build our tires, it sucks into the rim, which causes that bead to
So you have to
move
create
out.
that round shape is essentially what
You're more or less recreating that round shape.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I hear horror stories all the time of people saying, I broke 5 tire levers. I couldn't get my tires on. Well, just sitting here talking, casually, we put that on. Piece of cake.
I get my tire out.
We're already going down the wrong road here, Eric.
We are. What did I do wrong?
Well, your mind is resorting back to traditional
See,
tire.
this is the problem. Okay, so talk to me through this again.
So in no way do we
valve stem down, correct?
valve stem down. We
Okay.
want to stretch the tire completely over the wheel.
Right. So,
Exactly.
okay.
One bead on each side of the rim. Remember, leverage is your friend. So you want to pull the tire or push the tire, stretch the tire around the rim.
That was the massaging that I was talking about earlier. Hey, that was easier.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. All right, cool.
So you can use a tire lever to help you out when you're at this point
Oh,
right
I'm
here.
good.
Okay.
Don't. Need no stinking tire lever with your 3-step process. I just need stronger hands.
Strong hands are good.
All right, so that's step number 1.
Step 1.
And that was so much easier than the other method that I was using. That's your traditional round tire. So then step 2, we want to have the valve set down. And then what we want to do is get one of the bead sides inside the middle of the tire.
Correct.
So we're going to start with that. Now, do I want to pull this over to one side? Does that help?
It'll naturally fall over to one side as you start to get one bead in.
Yeah, kind of does. Kind of feel that. Let's start step 2, and that is we've got to get the bead on one side into the actual middle of the tire rim, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so any trick with that, or is it just
2 thumbs, push it in.
2 thumbs, push it in? And once again, we kind of want to work both sides, correct? Because we want the valve stem down.
We want to end at the valve. Why
want
do
to-
we end at the valve, Eric?
We end at the valve because the valve sticks into the rim and takes up valuable real estate.
Exactly.
Okay.
I couldn't have said it better. So as you're working your way around, you want to double check to make sure that that bead is falling into the center channel of the rim and not hung up on the shelf.
Okay, that's a good point. Looks like it's kind of floating there.
And to help with that, can I show you a trick?
Yeah.
Just pull the tire over like that.
Oh, well, I asked you about that, and you said it would just naturally do it on its own. So basically, you're just pulling it over to the side,
Correct.
which is so much easier than what I was just trying to do.
Yes.
This reminds me of like back in the day when I worked at a shop. And I was trying to put like 21 mil tires with like seated beads on the end. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
It's almost there. I can like feel it. Nice.
Much easier, yeah?
Yeah, actually it is. I mean, it's still tough, but
Well, we'll see what happens when we go to put the second side of the bead on.
yeah, that's a good
We'll
point.
see how difficult it really is on the other side.
Okay, so I'm going to flip it over.
Flip it
because
over.
I want the valve down.
Correct.
And then I am going to start to round out
Yeah, I
the
think
tire to
pinching the tire is key to create some shape. That's going to allow you to pull the bead fully
so
into
that
the center channel.
so that the people at home can see it. I want to go kind of this way, right? Start it a little bit and then round it out.
Then create the shape, yes.
And the reason I'm doing that is so that the actual tire itself is getting inserted into the middle of the rim as much as possible. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
the center channel of that rim is there for a reason. And if you're not using it, you're not using the wheel properly. And it's going to make life really hard when you're trying to install a tire.
Got it. It's about the same so far.
Let's use this as a demonstration quickly.
Mm-hmm.
May I see the wheel?
Yeah.
So see where the tire is here?
Yes.
This looks like it's not even the right size. Like, how did I even get this onto this point? So let's go back to the top of the wheel and let's find a way to create some shape. So sometimes it's a little more difficult if you have a really wide rim. So we need to, let's find an area we can grab and make some shape. So as we make shape all the way around, I can feel the bead sliding more into the center. Let's see if we can create some more room at the end to slide this up a little easier. Maybe use our tire iron.
Here, I kind of feel like I want to do this.
All right, there you go.
Because
just continue working yourself all the way around. And you can see where we've created shape because no longer is the tire being sucked into the rim.
Yep.
It's protruding off the rim in a tire-like shape.
No matter what you are doing, installing a tire isn't necessarily the easiest thing to begin with. No matter what tire you're installing.
Right.
Particularly if you don't do it often. If you don't have a tire that matches the wheel specs that you have, or whatever reason it is, it's not the easiest thing. Now, the whole point of this video is to try to teach people how to do it as easiest as possible. So it doesn't mean that you're just gonna, have a tire that just naturally goes on the wheel. And I don't think I would really want that to begin with, because that just means it's going to come off the wheel super easy as well.
That's right.
And when you're dealing with something that has 0 tubes or 0 glue, and you're cruising down a mountain at 40, 50 miles an hour, and you get a puncture, you don't necessarily want that thing to fall off that tire very easy anyways.
Exactly.
Okay, so I've created the shape. I still have a lot of space here.
But see how much less tire is over the rim.
Now let's try this tire lever on here.
Piece of cake.
It's done. It's on. Holy crap.
No broken tire levers. We hear that once in a while. And when I hear the story of I broke 3 tire levers installing this tire on my wheel, it's almost always the case that the rider was not utilizing the challenge method to installing the tire. And they were having problems because the tire was going down inside the rim and pushing the beads out. Becomes really tight. They're trying to pry it up over into the rim. Boom, plastic tire lever gone.
This really is an example of working smarter, not harder. Okay, so we've done it. Finally.
Yes.
Not even really finally. Like, that was the fastest I've ever put on a challenge tire. I believe it was about 8 minutes.
And you'll only get faster from there.
Yeah. Okay, so what's next?
Let's air it up. Let's seat the tires.
Okay, so when you say seat the tire, what are you talking about?
So we put those beads in the center channel of the rim, right?
Correct.
We need to get them on the shelf, the bead shelf, so that the tire takes shape and we can ride it.
Well, we also need to be able to put sealant inside of it as well.
Yeah, that's a step in between.
Okay, so the very first thing we want to do is we want to seat the tire.
That's right.
Okay, so now do you have a hand pump?
No, but we have a compressor.
Why do you, a what?
An air compressor. So I recommend.
I thought air compressors are for, like, building houses and shit.
You can do that too. So, in your free time. But we need some explosive, so to speak, air pressure. Yes.
You mean one of these?
One of those to pop these beads up onto the bead shelf.
Okay.
So I recommend a compressor. It's the best, quickest, easiest way to do it.
I actually recommend a compressor too. I was just joking when I said earlier if you have a hand pump. Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Oh, hear that? That's what you want to hear. And we got a little. There we go. Simple.
Look at that. Seated. Now, when you talk about seating, what you want to make sure is that there's a consistency with the tire and the wall of the tire on all edges of the rim, correct?
Correct. So we have this chafer strip that we apply to all of our tires to protect it where it meets the rim, but that's also a nice handy guide to make sure your tire is fully seated. The other trick you can do.
What
is
did you
take
call
your
that?
wheel.
A chafing?
It's a chafer guide.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
We'll just pull that off. But if you spin your wheel and the tire looks normal with no wobbles, you know it's fully seated.
Do you do the one eye trick where you close one eye?
You can.
You don't need to because you're blind out of your right eye.
That's right. Yeah.
I do, right there. There's like very, very little wobbly, except this. All right, so we're done.
Easy.
Okay, do you leave this sit for 24 hours or do you just go ahead and go right into the whole sealant aspect of it?
I would throw some sealant in it and go for a ride.
Okay, and for the sealant, you're going to want to go to our next video, which is on our YouTube channel, on how to actually properly add sealant to a tire.
Correct. Let's
Okay.
do it.
All right.